Think about the last time that you wanted to punch someone in the face. No, really think about it. Maybe it was that old lady who took your parking space, or that twerp who cut you in line, or maybe, just maybe, it's that kid sitting right next to you. You see, as a second semester junior worried about ACTs, AP exams, finals, college, the future, love, and acceptance, I get that feeling to punch things really horrendously often. But I've gotten to a point in my life where I can look past those feelings of disappointment and anger, and I can turn it into something positive because I can generate empathy. In Speech and Debate, we use the 3 unforgivable curses from the Harry Potter series to define the worst things that can happen to a human being. There's Avada Kedavra, the killing curse, Imperio, torture, and Crucio, mind control. These 3 unforgivable curses show the impacts of death, dehumanization, and suffering. We live in a world where we are constantly surrounded by these 3 actions, so much so that we tend to ignore what they truly mean. When we read something on a newspaper that talks about Syrian refugees or mass incarceration, one single word has about the same impact on us on a word from a laundry list. Because this type of mentality creates apathy inside of us. La Cañada is known as the bubble. We would so like to think of our own problems that we put on shielders and pretend the rest of the world doesn't exist. But the truth is that the rest of the world does exist. And we have to start finding a way to care. Like Ray said earlier, you need just one experience, one personal connection to really invest yourself into an ideology, invest yourself into a problem. And that's what I believe I have done, is I've been able to generate empathy so we can move past this apathetic nature that we have right now. You see, the thing is that none of us go around every day and pretend that we don't care about anything. We do care about things. We aren't robots. But the problem is that most of those emotions are negative. They give in to this chaotic inner dialogue. When we're standing at the grocery store, we think about the weight of the basket in our hands, about the baby who is screaming next to us, about the cash in our pockets, about the traffic on the way home, and about the terrible, terrible fluorescent lighting. We seem to live between different moments of happiness and try and survive in between. I remember the other day, I was filling up my gas at the station right by Panera, and this guy was giving me a side-eye for a solid 60 seconds, and then he opens his mouth and he says, "Are you sure you didn't steal this car? Because, man, you're 12. And I remember it was a gorgeous California day. I had my music blasting. I had Habit French fries in the backseat of my car, but none of that mattered because some guy thought I was 12. It's these little moments that suddenly turn our situations into negative situations. We look for excuses to be unhappy. We look for reasons to not be satisfied. But I decided, yes, I am a second semester junior. I have so much to be worried about. Every second that I am happy is a second that I'm not spending being productive. But I decided I didn't want to leave between the moments of happiness, and I wanted to make each and every second worthwhile. And I thought the easiest way to do that would be to care about other people and to really design that empathy within myself. Because I thought if I cared about someone else as much as I cared about myself, then there would be no way I could be disappointed. There would be no way I could fail. Because really, we are only happy when someone else is unhappy. We only win when someone else loses. But if we change our perspective, we make it so that everyone is winning, we never have those experiences of loss, and we never truly experience the emotions of disappointment. I just came back from the state tournament a few weeks ago, and I had been preparing for months, and when I finally arrived, I had this mixture of emotions. I was terrified, I was nervous, and most of all, I was just afraid that I was going to let myself down, let my school down, let my family down, let my friends down. But the rounds, they came and went, and my topics were puppies, dependence on modern technology, Gandhi, and then finally at the end of it all, I was in a giant gym, standing with the top 7 impromptu speakers in the nation, and I received the award for the most influential speaker. And I expected at that point as well to have also gotten the state championship title, but my name was announced second. The girl who got first was Sarah Jew, a tall, perfect, beautiful, intelligent woman who had just been accepted to Yale. So, of course, I wasn't feeling very good about myself. I was pretty salty, pretty bitter. Even though I had made my school proud, even though I had gotten a scholarship, it didn't matter because the perfect girl had beaten me. And I continued to feel that way until I went home and she friended me on Facebook and she followed my Instagram. And I started scrolling through her posts, to try and be angry about it. And I realized she's an amazing ballerina. She cares about the first years on her debate team as much as I care about mine, with one of them sitting right there. And she took these hilarious black and white photos of her friends pretending to be in a silent movie. And every single photo I saw, every single post I saw, humanized her more and more. She wasn't just the girl with her name who had gotten a better score than I was. She was another human being, another good human being. And by the time her posts ran out, I realized that I was legitimately proud of her for winning the state title. And when I could be proud of her, I realized I was also proud of myself. There was nothing that I had lost in that transaction. And not only was I able to get rid of those negative emotions, I was able to foster a new relationship and a new connection. And that was really the first step, was understanding that even though we live in a society that puts its value on pragmatism and statistics, we have to understand that statistics don't give you the full story. If I were to tell you that people in Africa live on less than $1 a day, it wouldn't make any immediate impact. But when you read that statistic, make sure you also look for testimonials. You look for opinions. You look for videos. You look for photos. Because words on a page are not enough to incite that human reaction inside of you. And you have to go out of your way. I know it might take some extra time, but it will make you more human and it will make us all a little more connected. But looking at photos is often not enough. The best thing to do is really to act. A couple of months ago, I remember there was one Saturday where I happened to not have debate. It was pretty odd for me, considering that my weeks are literally 21 days long because I debate all weekend. So I decided, what am I going to do with this one Saturday? And I realized one of my friends from elementary school had invited me to a Facebook event titled GSA Day for Racial Justice. And I had been a part of the LGBT community for a while by that point, but I hadn't really confronted the larger picture of the LGBT community, which is about Black lives, which is about trans lives, about disabled lives, about Muslim lives. All of these people who are part of the LGBT community but aren't represented. And so I decided, I thought it would be a small little event in Pasadena, but as I was cruising on the 5, I was like, oh, this is going to be in Los Angeles, and it's a pretty big deal. So we ended up in the epicenter of Los Angeles. We got these talks from civil disobedience experts, and we were able to communicate with one another. But what really impacted me the most was hearing about the experiences of teenagers just like me, who were different from me and had experienced different things, but really had that same humanity. Because when you're part of the LGBT community, you realize that you're not supposed to be seen. You're supposed to be transparent. And I would say that I'm one of the most confident people I know, but even I feel that force of repression against me, that I'm not supposed to be projecting my voice over the voice of the larger community. And I realized that these other individuals, these other teenagers, felt the exact same emotion. And that's what bonded us together, that empathy, that ability to create that same humanity even out of different experiences. And we marched through Los Angeles, from City Hall to the detention center to the district attorney's office. And we ended the march at the police department. And we staged a die-in to commemorate the loss of lives of trans lives who had been ended by law enforcement. And as I was sitting there, I was laying down on the sidewalk, I thought about everything that I experienced, but more than that, I thought about the people who didn't have the same opportunities that I had. I thought about the people surrounding me who had different experiences but wanted the same things, and I realized I would never be able to take a passive approach to activism ever again. Because finally, this had come off of the page. It wasn't just about being part of a community, it was about advocating for it. Because this wasn't just a seed that I had planted myself, it had been one that was planted inside of me, and it grew, and you can't repress it anymore. When we look at the unforgivable curses in our newspapers, we have to understand that there are problems waiting for a solution, solutions that we can provide. Make sure you go on social media and you talk to other people. You try and find as many perspectives as possible. Because technology has given us the opportunity to be globally interconnected. And that's something we have to take advantage of if we want to stay human. But even if you want to do that, you definitely should. But if there's something you really care about, make sure you volunteer your time, and you always look for the human factor in every single instance. Because when you go out into your day-to-day life, you might end up at a grocery store, or you might end up trying to get a parking space. But remember that when those negative feelings crop up, you can defeat them by being human and by creating that empathy. Maybe that girl who just cut you off listens to Beyonce in the car. Maybe that baby who is screaming has an adorable little butterfly bib. When we start treating other people like that they are other people, we will create that empathetic response which will make us more interconnected and more prepared to solve the problems of tomorrow. If we want to dare mighty things, understand that not all might is characterized by large, flashy, ostentatious designs, but rather it's small actions. A wave that is started by you or me, a wave of empathy that can really overtake the world and change how we view ourselves and how we view the future. Thank you.